The liberation of the galaxy began not with a grand plan, but with a simple message broadcast across 1,000 worlds. President Helen Davis stood before the cameras in the White House, knowing that her words would be heard on planets where freedom had been forgotten for centuries. "To all species under Council rule," she said, "humanity extends our hand in friendship and our promise of protection. You are not alone. Freedom is coming." The broadcast was transmitted by human ships that had spread throughout Council territory, carrying a message that struck terror into the hearts of Council leaders and hope into the souls of enslaved populations everywhere. Admiral Carter was coordinating the largest military operation in human history from the secret command center. 3 months after the destruction of Admiral Kreenoth's fleet, humanity had not waited for the Council to return. Instead, they had taken the war to the enemy. "Fleet status report," Admiral Carter requested. Jake Morrison consulted the tactical display showing human forces across dozens of star systems. "We now have 1,200 operational ships, including 200 heavy cruisers equipped with full hybrid technology. Admiral, our shipyards are producing vessels faster than the Council can count them." The secret to humanity's rapid expansion lay in something the Council had never encountered: industrial efficiency combined with adaptive technology. While Council ships were built to exact specifications that hadn't changed in centuries, human engineers improved their designs with every vessel that rolled out of the shipyards. Captain Beth Williams was leading the liberation of the Veltar system, where the grateful alien population had provided detailed intelligence about Council military installations. The UES Victory had been joined by 50 other ships in what had become known as the Freedom Fleet. "Victory to all ships," Beth transmitted. "The Veltar people have confirmed that all civilians are clear of the military targets. We are cleared to engage." The Battle of Veltar Prime demonstrated how much human military doctrine had evolved. Instead of the chaotic tactics that had surprised the Council in earlier battles, human forces now fought with precision and coordination that made their attacks seem almost surgical. Dr. Foster had established mobile research stations throughout, liberated space, studying Council technology and sharing improvements with human forces in real time. "We're now integrating Council shield technology with our kinetic weapons," she reported. "The result is ships that are virtually impervious to energy attacks while maintaining full offensive capability." Colonel Dan Murphy was conducting special operations deep in Council territory, working with resistance movements that had formed on dozens of worlds. "Command, this is Murphy. The underground networks are providing intelligence faster than we can process it. Every species the Council enslaved wants to help us bring them down." The psychological impact of human operations was proving as important as their military victories. For the first time in centuries, Council forces were facing an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once, fighting with a determination and creativity that their military doctrine couldn't counter. Captain Sarah Blake had expanded her operations beyond Earth, establishing training programs for alien resistance fighters. "These species remember how to fight," she reported. "They just needed someone to show them it was possible to win." The climactic confrontation came at Nexus Prime, the Council's capital world and the seat of their galactic empire. Admiral Carter led a combined fleet of human ships and vessels crewed by liberated alien species in an assault on the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Carter to all ships," she broadcast as the massive fleet approached the Council homeworld. "Today we end 1,000 years of tyranny. Today we give the galaxy back its freedom." The defense of Nexus Prime represented everything the Council could bring to bear. 500 of their most advanced ships protected the planet, supported by orbital defense platforms and planetary shield generators that had never been breached. But the fleet that approached them was unlike anything the Council had imagined. Human ships flew alongside vessels from dozens of liberated species, each one crewed by beings who had personal reasons to hate Council rule. It wasn't just a military force, it was a galactic revolution. Jake Morrison coordinated the assault, From the flagship UES Liberation. All ships report ready. Combined fleet strength is 800 vessels with full hybrid technology integration. The battle for Nexus Prime lasted 18 hours and involved tactics that would be studied by military academers for generations. Human forces used everything they had learned in previous battles, combined with intelligence provided by former council slaves who knew every weakness in the planet's defenses. Captain Beth Williams led the assault on the orbital defense platforms, her ship diving through enemy fire with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. All squadrons, follow my lead. We're going to show them how humans fight when everything is on the line. The breakthrough came when Colonel Dan Murphy's Special Forces, teams working with alien resistance fighters, managed to sabotage the planetary shield generators from within. As the shields collapsed, General Rick Hayes led the ground assault that would capture the council chambers themselves. "This is Hayes to all ground units," the general transmitted as human and alien forces landed on Nexus Prime. "Remember, we're here to liberate, not conquer. Any council personnel who surrender will be treated according to the laws of war." The final confrontation took place in the Great Assembly Hall, where the council had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. Admiral Carter walked into the chamber, flanked by representatives from every species that had joined the liberation, while the surviving council members waited under guard. "Council members," Admiral Carter addressed them, "you stand accused of crimes against countless sentient beings. You have enslaved entire species, murdered billions, and suppressed freedom throughout the galaxy." The former council leader, an ancient being named Supreme Counselor Thexmore, spoke with a voice filled with centuries of arrogance. "You may have won this battle, human, but you cannot govern a galaxy. Chaos will follow. Disorder will consume everything." President Davis, who had arrived on Nexus Prime for this moment, stepped forward. "Counselor, you're thinking like a tyrant. We're not here to rule anyone. We're here to make sure that every species can rule itself." The establishment of the Galactic Federation was announced from the same chamber where the Council had once decreed the fate of worlds. Representatives from over 200 species signed the charter that established principles of freedom, self-determination, and mutual defense. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the Federation's exploration fleet. His mission was to spread the message of freedom to species beyond Council space and ensure that no new tyranny could arise. "This is Admiral Morrison to all exploration vessels," he transmitted as the new fleet prepared to leave Nexus Prime. "Our mission is simple. We carry the promise that any species seeking freedom will find Federation protection, and any species attempting to enslave others will face Federation justice." Dr. Foster established the Federation Science Council, dedicated to sharing technology and knowledge freely among all member species. "For too long, progress has been controlled by those who wanted to maintain power," she declared. "Now every species will have access to the tools they need to build their own future." The story concluded with humanity's transformation from a species that had nearly been enslaved to the guardians of galactic freedom. Earth became the center of a new civilization based on the radical idea that no being should bow to another and that freedom was worth any sacrifice to protect. As the Federation fleet spread out across the galaxy, carrying the message of liberation, to worlds that had never known freedom, one truth became clear to everyone. The Council had made the greatest mistake in galactic history when they underestimated Earth. Humanity had not just survived their attempt at conquest, they had used it as the first step in freeing the entire galaxy. The age of tyranny was over. The age of freedom had begun. Admiral Kreenoth's massive fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, like a dark storm cloud. 400 ships arranged in perfect formation, each one larger and more heavily armed than anything in Commander Vex Thul's destroyed force. The Council's first fleet represented centuries of military engineering and had never been defeated in battle. "Human vessels detected throughout the system," reported Tactical Officer Zextal. I'm reading approximately 800 ships, but Admiral, these vessels are much larger than the ones that destroyed Vexthul's fleet. Kreenoth studied the tactical display with growing interest. The humans had clearly been busy in the weeks since their first victory. Their ships were now equipped with what appeared to be hybrid technology, combining human engineering with council systems in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Impressive, she admitted. But numbers alone will not save them. Begin the attack. Admiral Carter watched the alien fleet approach from her command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Council had brought their best ships and their most experienced commanders. It was exactly what she had hoped for. All units, this is Admiral Carter, she broadcast to the human fleet. Today we show the galaxy that freedom is not negotiable. Today we prove that humanity bows to no one. Captain Beth Williams commanded the UES Victory at the center of the human formation. Her ship was now equipped with the most advanced hybrid weapons that Dr. Foster's teams had developed. The fusion of human and alien technology had produced systems that neither species could have created alone. All batteries charged and ready, her weapons officer reported. We're reading optimal performance from all hybrid systems. Jake Morrison coordinated the battle from the command center, watching as both fleets maneuvered for position. The aliens maintained their traditional formation, relying on overwhelming firepower and superior technology. The humans spread out in loose formations that would allow maximum tactical flexibility. Enemy fleet is maintaining standard council attack patterns, Jake reported. They're not adapting to our previous tactics. Admiral Carter nodded. They're fighting the last war instead of this one. Let's show them why that's a mistake. The battle began when Admiral Kreenoth ordered her dreadnoughts to open fire at maximum range. Massive energy beams lanced across space toward the human fleet, each one capable of destroying a city. But the humans were no longer where the aliens expected them to be. Captain Sarah Blake led a squadron of fast attack ships in a flanking maneuver that caught the Council forces completely off guard. Instead of meeting the alien attack head-on, the human ships scattered and regrouped, using their superior speed and maneuverability to attack from unexpected angles. Blake to all units, Sarah transmitted. Hit their shield generators first. Dr. Foster's analysis shows they're vulnerable to coordinated kinetic strikes. Colonel Dan Murphy's stealth ships had been positioned throughout the system for weeks, waiting for exactly this moment. As the Council fleet focused on the main human force, Dan's ships attacked from concealment, striking at the alien formations. Weak points. Phantom Wing, engage at will, Dan ordered. Target command and control vessels. Let's blind them before they can adapt. The human attack was unlike anything the Council had faced in their centuries of conquest. Instead of the formal battle lines they expected, human ships attacked from every direction using tactics that seemed to change constantly. It was like fighting smoke. Sir, Zextal reported to Admiral Kreenoth, we're taking heavy casualties on our flanks. The human ships are using the asteroid field to mask their approach vectors. Kreenoth watched in growing alarm as her perfectly ordered formation began to break apart under the chaotic human assault. How are they moving so quickly? Our sensors show their ships should not be capable of such acceleration. What the Admiral didn't know was that human engineers had been studying alien propulsion systems for weeks. Dr. Foster's teams had developed improved drive systems that combined alien energy technology with human engineering principles, creating ships that were faster and more agile than anything the Council had encountered. Captain Beth Williams brought the victory into close-range combat with one of the alien dreadnoughts. The massive Council ship was 10 times larger than her vessel, but size meant nothing when the enemy couldn't target you effectively. All weapons, continuous fire, Beth ordered. Let's see how tough these dreadnoughts really are. The Victory's hybrid weapons systems opened fire, sending both kinetic rounds and energy beams into the alien ship's hull. The Council vessel's shields flared and collapsed under the unexpected combination of attack types. Explosions blossomed along its hull as human weapons found critical systems. Admiral Carter watched the battle unfold with satisfaction. The human fleet was not just holding its own against superior numbers, it was winning. The combination of superior tactics, hybrid technology, and sheer determination was proving more than a match for Council military doctrine. "Status report," she requested. Jake Morrison consulted the tactical displays. "We've destroyed 67 enemy ships and disabled 43 more. Our losses are 18 ships damaged, 7 destroyed. The enemy formation is in complete disarray." Meanwhile, General Rick Hayes was coordinating the ground-based portion of the battle. Earth's hidden defensive systems were engaging any alien, ships that tried to break through the orbital battle and approach the planet. "Planetary defense grid is fully active," General Hayes reported. "Any alien ship that makes it past our fleet is going to face a very unpleasant surprise." Dr. Foster was analyzing the battle in real time, providing tactical intelligence to human forces throughout the system. "All ships, I'm detecting a weakness in the alien command structure. They're using centralized control protocols. If we can take out their command ships, the rest of their fleet will lose coordination." Captain Sarah Blake received the intelligence and immediately adjusted her attack. "All squadrons, new priority targets. Go after anything that looks like a command vessel." The human assault on the Council command structure was devastating. Alien admirals who had commanded fleets for centuries found themselves unable to coordinate their forces as human attacks disrupted their communication networks and destroyed their command ships. Admiral Kreenoth realized that her fleet was facing complete destruction. "All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance. We need to regroup and reassess our strategy." But retreating proved as difficult as attacking. Human ships pursued the fleeing Council vessels, using their superior speed to prevent the aliens from forming defensive formations. What had begun as an organized withdrawal quickly became a rout. "Admiral," Zextal reported, his voice shaking, "we've lost over half our fleet. The humans are pursuing our retreating ships and destroying them one by one." Kreenoth stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The Council's most powerful fleet was being systematically destroyed by a species that had supposedly just developed space travel. It was impossible, but it was happening before her eyes. Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to the fleeing alien fleet. "Admiral Kreenoth, you came here to conquer Earth. Instead, you've learned the same lesson as Commander Vexthul. Humanity will not submit to tyranny." Kreenoth's response was filled with rage and desperation. "This is not over, human. The Council has thousands of ships. We will return with a force that will turn your world to ash." Admiral Carter's reply was calm and confident. "Let them come. We'll be waiting." As the surviving Council ships fled the solar system, humanity began preparations for what everyone knew would be the final confrontation. The Council would not accept 2 defeats. They would return with everything they had, and when they did, humanity would be ready. News of humanity's devastating victory over Commander Vexthul's fleet spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On dozens of Council-controlled worlds, species that had been enslaved for centuries looked up at the stars with something they hadn't felt in generations: hope. If the humans could defeat a Council fleet, maybe freedom was possible after all. Admiral Kreenoth received the emergency transmission while commanding the Council's first fleet in the Centauri sector. She was a member of the Veltan species, 8 feet tall with crystalline skin that could deflect energy weapons. She had never lost a battle in 300 years of service to the Council. "Impossible," Kreenoth said as she reviewed the battle recordings that Vexthul's surviving ships had transmitted. "A primitive species cannot possess this level of technology." Her tactical advisor, a nervous Keth Mori named Zextal, pointed at the holographic display showing human ships in action. "Admiral, these vessels are using weapons we've never encountered. Their tactics are completely outside our training protocols." Kreenoth studied the recordings more carefully. The human ships moved with a coordination that suggested advanced artificial intelligence, but their attack patterns showed creativity that no computer could generate. It was as if each human commander was adapting their strategy in real time based on battlefield conditions. "Assemble the full First Fleet," she ordered. 400 ships, including the dreadnoughts. If these humans want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. Back on Earth, humanity was using the time to prepare for exactly this scenario. Dr. Amy Foster had teams working around the clock to analyze the captured alien technology from the destroyed Council ships. What they found was both encouraging and terrifying. "Their technology is incredibly advanced," Dr. Foster reported to Admiral Carter, "but it's also incredibly standardized. Every ship uses the same systems, the same protocols, the same everything. It's like they haven't innovated in centuries." Jake Morrison was coordinating the integration of alien technology with human systems. "Doctor, does that give us an advantage?" "Absolutely," Dr. Foster replied. "Their weapons are designed to fight other Council forces using Council technology. Our weapons are completely outside their experience. But Jake, if they bring enough ships, raw numbers might overcome our tactical advantages." Admiral Carter was thinking along the same lines. "How many ships can we field if they come back with everything they have?" Jake consulted the latest reports from the hidden shipyards. 800 ships are now operational, with another 200 coming online within the next month. "But Admiral, our intelligence suggests the Council has over 10,000 ships scattered across the galaxy." The numbers were sobering, but Admiral Carter had learned never to underestimate human ingenuity. "Then we'll have to make sure those 10,000 ships never get the chance to fight together." Captain Beth Williams was leading a task force to test the hybrid human council technology that Dr. Foster's teams had developed. The UES Victory was equipped with weapons that combined human kinetic systems with alien energy technology. The results were devastating. "Target practice complete," Beth reported from the asteroid field where they had been testing. "The hybrid weapons are 50% more effective than either technology alone. We're reading complete shield penetration and massive structural damage to the test targets." Colonel Dan Murphy had a different mission. His stealth ships were conducting reconnaissance deep in Council territory, gathering intelligence on their fleet movements and military installations. What he found was disturbing. "Command, this is Murphy," he transmitted through encrypted channels. "I'm observing a massive Council fleet assembling in the Rigel system. At least 400 ships, including vessels larger than anything we've seen before. They're definitely planning something big." Admiral Carter received the report with grim satisfaction. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, approximately 6 days," Dan replied. "But Admiral, there's something else. I'm detecting communication traffic suggesting they're also mobilizing fleets from other sectors. This might be the largest military operation in Council history." Meanwhile, Captain Sarah Blake was expanding Earth's defensive preparations beyond just military assets. Her teams were working with civilian populations to establish emergency protocols, hidden supply caches, and resistance networks that could operate even if the orbital defenses failed. Every major city now has emergency shelters capable of supporting the entire population for 6 months, Sarah reported. "We've also established communication networks that can operate independently of normal infrastructure. If they manage to land troops, they're going to face resistance from every human on the planet." President Helen Davis addressed the world in a carefully worded speech that revealed just enough truth to prepare humanity without causing panic. "My fellow citizens," she said, "we face a challenge unlike any in human history. Hostile alien forces have attacked our world and murdered our people. But we have shown them that humanity will not submit to tyranny. We will defend our freedom with everything we have." The speech was broadcast across Earth and intercepted by Council intelligence services. To alien listeners, it sounded like the desperate bravado of a doomed species. They had no idea that humanity was actually preparing for the largest military operation in their history. General Rick Hayes was coordinating ground-based preparations that would have seemed impossible just months earlier. Hidden across Earth's surface were weapon systems that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure for decades. All planetary defense grids are online, General Hayes reported. We have railgun installations on every continent, orbital strike, capabilities, and enough firepower to make any invasion extremely costly. Dr. Foster's analysis teams had made another important discovery. The Council's military communications were completely unencrypted because they had never faced an enemy capable of intercepting and decoding their signals. "We can listen to everything they're saying," Dr. Foster reported with excitement. "Their operational security is non-existent. We'll know their attack plans before their own fleet commanders receive final orders." Admiral Carter smiled grimly. "Arrogance has always been the enemy of good strategy. Let's make sure they pay for their overconfidence." As Admiral Kreenoth's massive fleet approached Earth, both sides prepared for a battle that would determine the future of human independence. The Council expected to crush the upstart species with overwhelming force. Humanity planned to show the galaxy that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the odds. Jake Morrison coordinated the final preparations from the secret command center. "All ships report ready. All defense systems are online. All personnel are at their stations." Admiral Carter looked at the tactical display showing Earth surrounded by its defenders. 800 human ships faced an enemy fleet that outnumbered them by almost 2-to-1, equipped with technology that had conquered countless worlds. "Jake," she said quietly, "send a message to all ships. Tell them that today we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species that dreams of freedom." The second battle for Earth was about to begin. The human counterattack began with a fury that Commander Vex Thul had never witnessed in his 1,000 years of military service. Captain Beth Williams brought the UES Retribution around in a massive arc, her ship's weapons systems locked onto 3 Council vessels that had been trying to retreat to a safer distance. "All batteries, concentrated fire on the lead ship," Beth ordered. Her crew had trained for this moment for years, running simulations against projected alien technology. Now they were putting that training to use against real enemies who had just murdered innocent civilians. The Retribution's main guns fired in sequence, sending tungsten slugs the size of telephone poles through space at incredible velocity. The Council ship's shields flared and collapsed under the kinetic assault. The alien vessel broke apart as the railgun rounds punched completely through its hull. Admiral Carter coordinated the battle from her underground command center, watching as decades of secret preparation finally paid off. The tactical display showed human forces engaging the alien fleet from every direction. Ships emerged from hiding places the aliens had never suspected. Weapons that the Council had never seen before tore through their formations. "Status report," Admiral Carter requested. Jake Morrison consulted the tactical displays that were updating in real time. "We've destroyed 18 enemy ships and disabled 7 more. Our losses are 3 destroyers and 1 cruiser. The alien fleet is in full retreat toward the outer system." The numbers were almost unbelievable. Human forces were not just holding their own against superior alien technology, they were winning. The secret fleet that had been built in asteroid shipyards was proving that human engineering could match Council technology when combined with superior tactics. Colonel Dan Murphy piloted the UES Phantom through the chaos of battle, his stealth destroyer picking off alien ships that were trying to regroup. The Phantom's advanced sensors allowed him to track enemy movements while remaining nearly invisible to their detection systems. "Phantom to Retribution," Dan transmitted. "I'm seeing the alien commander's flagship trying to form up with 6 escort vessels. They're heading for the jump point." Captain Beth Williams smiled grimly. "Not today. All ships, coordinate firing solution on the flagship. Let's send Commander Vex Thul a message he won't forget." Vex Thul's flagship was taking heavy damage from multiple human ships attacking in perfect coordination. His bridge crew worked frantically to restore shield power while damage control teams tried to repair the hull breaches that were venting atmosphere into space. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost contact with 37 ships. The humans are using weapons that ignore our defensive systems. Vex Thul couldn't understand what was happening. The humans were supposed to be primitive. Their technology was supposed to be thousands of years behind Council science. Yet they were fighting with ships and weapons that seemed specifically designed to counter Council defenses. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Where did these ships come from?" What Vex Thul didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. Dr. Amy Foster's research division had analyzed every piece of alien technology they could get their hands on, including crashed probes and debris from Council ships that had visited the outer system in previous years. "Admiral," Dr. Foster reported from her lunar laboratory, "I'm analyzing the wreckage from the destroyed alien ships. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also standardized. Every ship uses the same shield frequencies, the same weapon systems, the same defensive protocols. They've been so successful for so long that they've stopped innovating." Admiral Carter understood immediately. They're fighting the same way they've fought for centuries because it's always worked before. They never adapted because they never had to. Meanwhile, General Rick Hayes was coordinating ground-based defenses in case any alien ships tried to land. Hidden across Earth's surface were railgun installations, missile batteries, and defensive systems that had been built under the cover of civilian construction projects. "All surface batteries report ready," General Hayes announced. "If any alien ships make it through the orbital defenses, we'll give them a warm welcome." Captain Sarah Blake was leading Special Forces teams that had been training for exactly this scenario. Her units were equipped with weapons specifically designed to fight aliens, including armor-piercing rounds that could penetrate Council battlesuits and electromagnetic pulse devices that could disable alien equipment. "If they try to land troops," Sarah reported, "they're going to find out that humans fight even harder on our home ground." The battle was turning into a complete rout. Human ships moved with speed and agility that the aliens couldn't match, using tactics that the Council had never encountered. Instead of the formal battle lines that Council forces expected, human ships attacked from multiple directions, used the environment to their advantage, and adapted their strategies in real time. Vex Thul made a desperate decision. "All ships, full retreat to the jump point. Send an emergency transmission to Council High Command. Tell them that Earth is not the primitive world we expected." But even retreat was proving difficult. Human ships were faster and more maneuverable than Council vessels. Captain Beth Williams led a squadron of human destroyers that cut off the alien escape route, forcing the Council ships to fight their way through a gauntlet of human weapons fire. "This is for the children you murdered," Beth whispered as she ordered another salvo fired at the alien flagship. The UES Retribution's weapons found their mark again and again. Vex Thul's ship was now missing large sections of its hull, its weapon systems were offline, and its engines were failing. Around him, what remained of his fleet was being systematically destroyed by human forces that seemed to be everywhere, at once. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "I'm receiving a transmission from the human admiral." Admiral Carter's face appeared on Vex Thul's damaged view screen. Behind her, the alien commander could see human officers working with calm efficiency, as if the complete destruction of a Council fleet was just another day at the office. "Commander Vex Thul," Admiral Carter said, "you came here expecting to find helpless prey. Instead, you found predators. Consider this a lesson in the dangers of underestimating humanity." Vex Thul tried to respond, but his communication systems failed before he could speak. His flagship was dying around him, and for the first time in his military career, he faced the possibility of defeat. Jake Morrison watched the tactical display as the last Council ships either fled the system or were destroyed by human forces. The battle that the aliens had expected to last minutes had turned into a complete victory for humanity. "Admiral," he reported, "all remaining alien ships are retreating beyond the orbit of Neptune. We're reading multiple hull breaches and engine failures in their fleet. They won't be back anytime soon." Admiral Carter nodded, but her expression remained serious. "This was just the first wave, Jake. When the Council learns what happened here, they'll send everything they have. We need to be ready for a much bigger fight." The victory was complete, but everyone in the command center knew it was only the beginning. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The question now was whether they could survive what came next. Commander Vexathul had grown tired of waiting for the humans to accept reality. As his deadline passed with yet another diplomatic message asking for more time, he decided to demonstrate the futility of resistance. The humans needed to see what Council weapons could do before they would understand their position. "Target the lunar research facility," he ordered his tactical officer. "Full power, but limit the blast radius. We want to destroy the facility without damaging the surrounding area. This is a demonstration, not total warfare." The alien commander believed he was being merciful. A surgical strike that would show overwhelming power while minimizing casualties would surely convince the humans to surrender. It was a tactic that had worked on dozens of other worlds. What Vexthul didn't know was that the Lunar Research Station was home to over 300 scientists and their families. Dr. Kevin Ross had been working there for 5 years, developing new energy systems for space exploration. His wife Jenny and their 2 young children lived with him in the station's family quarters. Major Kyle Anderson was visiting the station to review security protocols when the alien weapons struck. Kyle had served in Earth Space Forces for 15 years and had always believed that his job was to protect human lives. As the alien energy beams tore through the station's hull, he managed to get one final transmission out before the facility was destroyed. "Earth Command, this is Anderson at Lunar Station 7. We are under attack. The aliens are firing on civilian targets. Tell my wife. Tell Sarah that The transmission cut off as the station exploded in a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. 307 people died in that blast, including 42 children. Admiral Carter received the report in the secret command center. Around her, officers who had been maintaining professional calm suddenly went silent. The aliens had just crossed a line that changed everything. "Confirmed casualties at Lunar Station 7, the communications officer reported, his voice shaking. "No survivors detected." Jake Morrison felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. Those weren't soldiers who had died. They were scientists, engineers, teachers, children. The aliens had just murdered 300 innocent people to make a point. President Davis's voice came over the secure channel from Washington. "Admiral, you have full authorization to implement Terra Protocol. No restrictions, no limitations. Show them what humans do to anyone who murders our children." Admiral Carter turned to her staff. "All units, this is Admiral Carter. Authorization code Alpha 77. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. All ships, all weapons, full engagement. These aliens want to see our military power. Let's show them." Commander Vexthul watched the explosion with satisfaction. The demonstration had been perfect. Enough destruction to show council power, but not so much as to seem barbaric. Surely the humans would now understand their situation and surrender peacefully. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human government." Vexthul expected a surrender message. Instead, Admiral Carter's face appeared on his screen, and her expression was unlike anything he had seen from the defeated species he had conquered before. "Commander Vexthul," Admiral Carter said, her voice deadly calm, "you have just made the biggest mistake in your species' history. You attacked civilians, you murdered children, and now you're going to learn why that was a very bad idea." Before Vexthul could respond, his sensor officer shouted in alarm, "Sir, multiple contacts appearing throughout the system, ships powering, up all around us." The hidden human fleet began emerging from concealment. Ships that had been invisible moments before suddenly appeared on alien sensors. The asteroids that the aliens had dismissed as space debris split open to reveal massive gun platforms. The mining operations in the outer system revealed themselves to be fully armed battle stations. Captain Beth Williams brought the UES Retribution out of stealth directly behind the alien fleet. The massive human battleship was larger than anything. The aliens had expected humans to possess, bristling with weapons they had never seen before. "All weapons charged and ready," her tactical officer reported. "We have firing solutions on 12 enemy ships." Beth thought about the children who had died on the lunar station. "Fire everything!" The Retribution's rail guns opened fire, sending metal slugs at incredible velocity straight through the alien ship's shields. The aliens had never encountered kinetic weapons moving at such speeds. Their energy shields, designed to stop energy beams, were useless against solid projectiles traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. 3 alien ships exploded in the first salvo. Vexathul stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His ships were taking damage. Actual damage. It was impossible. Colonel Dan Murphy's stealth destroyer, the UES Phantom, struck from a completely different angle. Human stealth technology worked on principles the aliens had never encountered. While they could detect energy emissions and metal signatures, they couldn't track ships that masked both signatures simultaneously. "Phantom to all units," Dan reported. "Their shields are rotating frequency, but they're not adapting to kinetic impacts. Railguns and missiles are getting through." Dr. Amy Foster was coordinating the attack from her lunar side laboratory. Her analysis of alien technology had revealed something the Council had forgotten in their centuries of easy victories. Their defenses were designed to counter other Council technology, not completely different approaches to warfare. "All ships, target their shield generators first," she broadcast. "Their power systems are centralized. If we can overload their main reactors, their entire defensive grid will collapse." Captain Sarah Blake launched her own attack from Earth's surface. Hidden railgun installations that had been disguised as research facilities opened fire. The aliens had no idea that Earth itself was armed with weapons capable of reaching space. Vexthul's flagship shuddered as human weapons found their mark. "Damage report!" he shouted. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. His damage control," officer reported. "Shield generators are overloading. Sir, their weapons are using principles we've never encountered before." For the first time in his career, Commander Vexathul felt something he hadn't experienced since childhood. Fear. The humans weren't running. They weren't surrendering. They were fighting back with technology and tactics that caught the Council completely off guard. "Send a distress signal to Council High Command," he ordered. "Tell them we need immediate reinforcements." Admiral Carter watched the battle unfold from her command center. Human ships were taking damage too, but they were giving better than they got. More importantly, the aliens were learning that humanity would not go quietly into slavery. Jake Morrison coordinated the tactical display, watching as human forces engaged the alien fleet from multiple directions simultaneously. It was like watching a perfectly choreographed dance of destruction. "Admiral," he reported, "we're reading major damage to the alien flagship. Their formation is breaking up." Admiral Carter nodded grimly. "Good. But this is just the beginning. When word gets out that humans fought back, the Council will send everything they have. We need to be ready for a much bigger fight." The battle for Earth had begun, and the aliens were learning that they had seriously underestimated their newest enemy. Admiral Carter stood in the secret command center, buried 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. This facility had been built in complete secrecy over 20 years ago, designed to coordinate humanity's defense against exactly this scenario. As the Terra Protocol activated, screens around the room displayed information that would have shocked even senior military officers. "Operation Silent Thunder is now active," Admiral Carter announced to the room full of personnel who had been secretly preparing for this moment their entire careers. "All hidden assets are coming online." Jake Morrison felt like he was living in a dream. Hours ago, he had believed Earth's military consisted of a few hundred ships and some orbital defense platforms. Now he was looking at tactical displays showing over 500 advanced warships powering up in hidden locations throughout the solar system. "How is this possible?" he asked Admiral Carter quietly. 30 years ago, a group of scientists detected radio signals from deep space, she explained. The signals were clearly artificial, which meant we weren't alone. The government decided that if aliens existed, we needed to be ready for any possibility, including hostile contact. Colonel Dan Murphy was aboard the UES Phantom, one of the most advanced ships in humanity's secret fleet. The Phantom was a stealth destroyer equipped with technology that pushed the boundaries of human engineering. It could move through space virtually undetected, gather intelligence, and strike targets with devastating precision. "Phantom to command," Dan reported through encrypted channels. "We have visual on the alien fleet. They're maintaining standard. Formation, no scouts, no perimeter patrols. They're either incredibly confident or incredibly stupid. The alien fleet hung in space like a dark cloud, 200 massive ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns. To Commander Vex Thul, it was a display of overwhelming power. To human military analysts, it looked like a target-rich environment with no defensive precautions. Captain Sarah Blake was coordinating the hidden resistance networks across Earth's major cities, while the orbital battle would determine immediate survival. Sarah's teams were preparing for the possibility of ground invasion. They had weapons hidden in civilian buildings, communication networks that could operate independently of normal infrastructure, and plans to turn every city into a fortress. "All units report ready," Sarah transmitted to command. "If they land troops, they're going to find out that humans don't surrender easily." In the asteroid belt, shipyards that had been disguised as mining operations for decades were revealing their true purpose. The asteroids themselves had been hollowed out and converted into massive construction facilities. Admiral Carter watched as ships that had been built in complete secrecy emerged from their hiding places. Dr. Amy Foster was analyzing the alien fleet from a mobile laboratory that had been secretly installed on the far side of the moon. Her equipment was detecting energy patterns that the aliens had no idea they were broadcasting. "Their communication systems are completely unencrypted," she reported in amazement. "It's like they've never faced an enemy capable of intercepting their signals. I can hear everything they're saying to each other." What Dr. Foster was hearing disturbed her. The alien officers were discussing Earth like it was already conquered property. They were making plans for how to divide up humanity's resources, which populations would be useful as slave labor, and which cities would be destroyed, as examples to keep the survivors obedient. Commander Vex Thul was growing more impatient by the hour. The humans continued to send diplomatic messages, asking for extensions and trying to negotiate terms. It was pathetic. He had seen the same desperate bargaining on 17 other worlds, and it never changed the outcome. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting some unusual energy readings from various points in the system. Nothing that appears threatening, but it's not matching the technology levels we observed in their initial ships." Vex Thul barely glanced at the readings. Probably some kind of industrial activity. These primitive species often panic and start trying to build weapons at the last minute. It makes no difference. What the alien commander couldn't have known was that the unusual energy readings were actually humanity's secret fleet running final system checks. Ships that had been built with technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien probes decades earlier were powering up weapons that operated on principles the Council had never encountered. The UES Retribution was the flagship of the Hidden Fleet, a massive battleship equipped with experimental weapons that combined human engineering with alien energy principles. Captain Beth Williams had trained for this command her entire career, knowing that she might someday have to face exactly this situation. "All sections report ready for combat," her tactical officer announced. "Railguns charged, fusion missiles armed, stealth systems online." Jake Morrison was beginning to understand the scope of what humanity had accomplished in secret. The public space program that everyone knew about was just a cover story. The real space program had been building warships, developing new weapons, and preparing for the day when Earth would have to fight for its survival. "Admiral," he said to Carter, "why keep all this secret? Why not tell people we were prepared?" Admiral Carter looked at the tactical displays showing alien ships moving into attack formation. "Because the best defense is the one your enemy doesn't know exists. Commander Vexithol thinks he's facing a helpless planet with primitive technology. He's about to learn that appearances can be deceiving." As the deadline approached, both sides prepared for what they believed would be a quick and decisive battle. The aliens expected to crush human resistance within hours and begin the process of claiming their newest territory. The humans knew. They were facing technology more advanced than their own, but they had advantages the aliens couldn't imagine. Colonel Murphy's stealth ship moved closer to the alien fleet, gathering detailed intelligence on their formations and weapon systems. What he saw confirmed Dr. Foster's analysis. The aliens were incredibly powerful, but they were also predictable. Their tactics showed no creativity, no adaptation to unexpected situations. "Command," he reported. "These guys fight like they've never faced serious opposition. Their formations are textbook perfect, but they're not watching their flanks or maintaining escape routes. If we can surprise them, we might be able to do some real damage before they adapt." Admiral Carter reviewed the intelligence reports and felt a cold satisfaction. Humanity had been underestimated before, and it never ended well for those who made that mistake. The aliens were about to discover that humans were much more dangerous than they appeared. The countdown to war continued, and both sides made their final preparations, each confident of victory for very different reasons. Fleet Commander Vexthul arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system with a show of force that had broken the will of countless species before. 200 warships materialized from hyperspace, their hulls gleaming with the dark metal that made council vessels nearly indestructible. Each ship was larger than anything humans had ever built, bristling with weapons that could crack a planet's surface. Vexthul was a member of the Keth Mori, a warrior species that had served the Council for over 1,000 years. Standing 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like polished stone, he had conquered 17 worlds for the Council. Earth would be his 18th, and he expected it to be the easiest. "Open a communication channel to the human leadership," he commanded from his flagship's bridge. The ship itself was 3 miles long, shaped like a massive spear point aimed directly at Earth. President Helen Davis received the transmission in the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Washington. Around her, the most powerful people in the human government watched as the alien commander's image filled the main screen. "I am Fleet Commander Vexthul of the Galactic Council," the alien announced. His voice was like grinding stone. "Your time for consideration has been reduced. You now have 24 hours to surrender all military assets and accept Council governance. Refuse, and your world will be pacified by force." General Rick Hayes stepped forward. He was a veteran of 3 wars and had never backed down from a fight. "What gives you the right to make demands of our world?" Vexthul's 4 eyes focused on the general with something like amusement. "The right of the strong over the weak human. My fleet contains enough firepower to turn your planet into molten rock. Your entire military could not damage even one of my ships." Admiral Carter maintained her composure, but Jake Morrison could see her hands clenched into fists. "Commander, surely we can reach some kind of agreement that respects Earth sovereignty." "Sovereignty?" Vexthul made a harsh sound that might have been laughter. "Your species has no sovereignty. You are insects who have just learned to leave your nest. The Council decides what rights you have, and we have decided you have none." "President." Davis spoke for the first time. "And if we refuse your generous offer? Then you will join the 17 other worlds that made the same mistake," Vexthul replied. "Though I must admit, none of them lasted more than a few hours once the bombardment began." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in heavy silence. President Davis looked around the room at her advisors. These were people who had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity, and now they faced an enemy beyond anything they had ever imagined. Options? The president asked. General Hayes spoke first. Our conventional forces are no match for that fleet. If they're telling the truth about their capabilities, we couldn't even scratch their paint. Dr. Amy Foster had been analyzing the alien ships since they arrived. I'm seeing some interesting energy patterns, she reported. Their shields seem to operate on rotating frequencies. There might be ways to exploit that, but I need more time to study them. Admiral Carter stood up slowly. Madam President, I need to speak with you privately. The two women stepped into a secure side room. Jake Morrison watched them through the reinforced glass, seeing an intense conversation that lasted nearly an hour. When they returned, both looked grim but determined. General Hayes, President Davis said, activate the Terra Protocol immediately. Jake had never heard of the Terra Protocol, but General Hayes went pale. Madam President, are you certain? Once we activate that, there's no going back. Commander Vexthul just made it clear that surrender means slavery and refusal means death, the president replied. Those aren't acceptable options. Admiral Carter turned to Jake. Captain Morrison, you're about to learn some things that are classified at the highest levels. What you see and hear in the next few hours cannot leave this room until the operation is complete. Jake nodded, though he felt completely lost. Around him, officers began making phone calls using codes he had never heard. Computer screens filled with data from sources he didn't recognize. It was like watching a completely different military spring into action. Meanwhile, in space, Commander Vexthul was growing impatient. He had expected the humans to surrender within hours of seeing his fleet. Instead, they continued to send diplomatic messages asking for more time. It was the same pattern he had seen on other worlds, and it always ended the same way. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're detecting increased communication traffic from the human planet, military frequencies. Vexthul dismissed this with a wave of one hand. Let them contact their scattered forces. It will make no difference. A few hundred primitive ships cannot stand against the might of the Council. What the alien commander didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Hidden deep in classified government files were plans that dated back to the early days of space exploration. Scientists and military leaders had always wondered what would happen if humanity encountered hostile aliens. They had decided to be ready. Dr. Amy Foster's analysis was revealing more than she had initially reported. The alien ships were powerful, but they were also predictable. Their technology followed patterns that suggested they had not faced serious opposition in centuries. Their shield frequencies, weapon targeting systems, and formation flying all showed signs of a military that had grown complacent through easy victories. Admiral, she reported privately, I think they're overconfident. Their defenses are designed to stop the kind of attacks they expect, but human military thinking might be different enough to surprise them. Admiral Carter smiled for the first time since the aliens had arrived. Doctor, you might be more right than you know. As the deadline approached, humanity's leaders worked frantically to coordinate a response that the aliens would never see coming. Hidden facilities across the planet began powering up. Ships that had been concealed in asteroid fields received activation codes. Weapons that existed only in the deepest classified files were brought online. Commander Vexthul watched. Earth's sun set over the planet's dayside and prepared to begin the bombardment. He had given the humans their chance, and they had wasted it on futile diplomatic games. Soon, Earth would join the Council Empire like so many worlds before it. But as the alien fleet moved into attack position, sensors across the solar system began detecting something unexpected. Energy signatures that didn't match any known human technology. Ship contacts appearing in locations where no ships should exist. Weapon systems coming online that operated on principles the Council had never encountered. The humans, it seemed, had been keeping secrets of their own. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the massive alien ship approach Earth's orbital station. The vessel was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It stretched over 2 miles long, with smooth curves and glowing panels that pulsed with strange energy. Jake felt his heart racing as he prepared for humanity's first official contact with alien life. "Sir, they're requesting permission to dock," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes. Everyone on the bridge knew they were making history. "Grant them permission," Jake replied, "and send word to Admiral Carter immediately." Admiral Lisa Carter was already on her way to the station. As head of Earth's Space Command, she had been preparing for this moment for years. Nobody knew when aliens might arrive, but everyone hoped it would be peaceful. The massive ship that now filled their viewports suggested these visitors had technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. The alien delegation that came aboard was led by a creature that introduced itself as Ambassador Zethkar. He stood 7 feet tall, with reptilian features and scales that shifted color from green to blue. Behind him came 5 other aliens, each from a different species. One looked like a giant insect, another resembled a walking tree, and the others were equally strange. "Greetings, primitive humans," Zethkar said through a translation device. His voice was cold and formal. "I represent the Galactic Council, the governing body of this galaxy. We have come to offer you a great honor." Jake felt a chill at the word primitive, but he kept his expression neutral. Admiral Carter had arrived and now stood beside him. She was a tough woman in her 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "We welcome you to Earth," Admiral Carter said carefully. "What kind of honor are you offering?" Zethkar's scales shifted to a darker blue, which Jake suspected meant amusement. "Your species has finally developed space travel. This means you are ready to join civilized society. The Council offers you protection and guidance in exchange for your complete cooperation." The words sounded nice, but Jake didn't like the tone. There was something threatening hidden beneath the polite language. Admiral Carter seemed to sense it too. "What exactly does complete cooperation mean?" she asked. "You will surrender all military assets to Council oversight," Zethkar explained. "Your planet will be governed according to Council law. Your people will contribute resources and labor as directed. In return, we will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. This wasn't an offer of friendship. It was a demand for surrender. He glanced at Admiral Carter, who kept her face carefully blank. "That's a significant decision," Admiral Carter said. "Our leaders will need time to consider your offer." Zethkar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Consider? Your species has no choice in this matter. Look around you, Admiral. Do you see how easily we reached your world? Your technology is thousands of years behind ours." To prove his point, Zethkar pulled out a small device. With a casual gesture, he pointed it at a nearby metal table. The table began to glow and then slowly dissolved into nothing. The other aliens watched with what looked like boredom, as if this display was routine for them. "Impressive, Admiral," Carter said, though Jake could hear the tension in her voice. "However, humanity has always believed in making informed decisions. We would appreciate some time to discuss this with our government." Zethkar's scales darkened further. "Very well. You have 72 hours to accept our generous offer. We will remain in orbit until then." He turned to leave, then paused. "I should mention that refusal is not actually an option. The Council has dealt with stubborn species before. It never ends well for them." After the aliens left, Jake and Admiral Carter stood in silence for several minutes. Finally, the Admiral spoke. "Get me a secure line to President Davis immediately," she ordered, "and raise our alert status to yellow. Do it quietly." Jake nodded and began issuing orders. Around the bridge, crew members worked with nervous energy. Everyone understood that humanity had just been given an ultimatum disguised as an offer. Admiral Carter pulled Jake aside. "I want you to review all our defensive capabilities. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Get me a complete assessment within 6 hours." "Yes, ma'am," Jake replied. "Do you think they're serious about the threat?" Admiral Carter looked out at the alien ship, which now hung in space like a dark promise. "Jake, I've been a soldier for 30 years. I know a threat when I hear one. These aliens didn't come here to make friends. They came here to add another planet to their empire." As news of the alien contact spread across Earth, reactions were mixed. Some people were excited about joining a galactic civilization. Others were suspicious of the aliens' demands. The government tried to keep the details secret, but rumors spread quickly. President Helen Davis called an emergency meeting with her top advisors. General Rick Hayes, the head of Earth's ground forces, was skeptical from the beginning. 72 hours isn't enough time to make a decision this big, he argued. And why the ultimatum? If they're really offering protection, why threaten us? Dr. Amy Foster, now promoted to head of alien technology analysis, had been studying the recordings of Zeth Karr's demonstration. "Their technology is definitely advanced," she reported, "but I'm seeing some interesting patterns in their energy signatures. Give me more time, and I might find weaknesses." Meanwhile, the alien ship remained in orbit, broadcasting occasional messages that were clearly intended to intimidate. They showed images of other planets that had joined the Council, all of which looked remarkably similar. Cities built to the same design, populations wearing identical clothing, no signs of individual culture or freedom. Jake spent the next day reviewing Earth's military assets. What he found both worried and surprised him. On the surface, humanity's defenses looked weak compared to alien technology. But buried in classified files, he discovered references to projects he had never heard of. Secret research programs, hidden shipyards, weapons that existed only in encrypted databases. Admiral Carter noticed his confusion. "There are things about our military that even senior officers don't know, Jake. We've been preparing for this possibility longer than you might think." As the first day of the ultimatum ended, humanity faced an impossible choice: accept alien rule and lose their freedom, or refuse and face the consequences. But Jake was beginning to suspect that the choice might not be as simple as the aliens believed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had some surprises of their own.